Hey guys, young Psychonaut here. Welcome back to the channel for another video. And as promised, today I'm going to talk about all my favorite movies. I mean, this is not an extensive list. I have even more movies that I really like, but these are like the cream of the crop. I really like watching these movies while I'm zoinked. So, as I told you in my video about drugs to watch movies on, I'll link it up now and in the description. There I talk about my favorite drugs to watch movies on. So now I'm going to talk about the movies that I actually like to watch while on, for example, 2F-ketamine, DXM, 2CB, or tramadol slash ODSMT. This list is in no particular order. These are just basically my favorite movies that I like to watch over and over again. I have all of these movies actually on DVD, so I actually own these movies. So that's also pretty cool. There's no streaming service that can take it away from me at this point, so that's pretty nice. Also, spoiler alert for some of these movies, I am going to talk about the plots of the movies and about different things that I found interesting. Keep that in mind, there's gonna be spoilers. So the first movie that I really like watching zoinked is The Big Lebowski from the Coen brothers. The Big Lebowski is basically just the perfect bum movie. It actually follows a guy named Lebowski, but he refers to himself as the dude. And basically what happens is there's another Lebowski in LA, a very rich Lebowski, let's say. Well, basically through some things, he owns money to some other people, and they break into the dude's house thinking that he is the rich Lebowski and basically piss on his carpet. And from there, the dude tries to get back his carpet, get back like the money for the carpet, etc. from the other Lebowski. And from here, a whole adventure ensues about a kidnapping, about money that needs to be dropped off, etc., etc. But the fun part about the movie is that the main character, the dude, is just such a bum, he's one of the most lazy people on earth. He just drinks White Russians all the time. Basically in every scene he's trying to make a White Russian, or he smokes like the most tail end of a joint, like the last roach with a little roach clip. It's just very aesthetically pleasing. Also the movie is very artsy. It has a lot of these scenes in them that are just very surreal, like almost dream sequence like. The characters in the movie are also all very interesting and weird, also very like human. I feel like in a lot of movies nowadays, the actors really try to play the mom or play the child, or like they try to fulfill a certain role, and I feel in this movie like everybody's just whoever they are in the movie, you know? For example, there's one character in the movie, Donnie, that's like a friend of the dude. And he and his other friend, Walter, literally every time Donnie opens his mouth, Walter says, "Shut the fuck up, Donnie."
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
As if Donnie is the most annoying person in the world. But then in the end, Donnie dies and it's like the most heartfelt eulogy, etc. So there's a lot of like really funny contrasting characters in this movie. And yeah, it's definitely a recommendation of mine. Now I'm going to talk about some Terry Gilliam movies. So Terry Gilliam is basically my favorite director ever. He was also one of the people that made Monty Python. So if you know that, you maybe know his name. Terry Gilliam makes these extremely weird, extremely surreal, like sci-fi-ish movies. He has extremely interesting camera techniques and cinematography techniques. He uses a lot of like projector screens instead of green screens, which reflects the light of the scene onto the people that are in front of the screen, which makes it like really interesting to watch like car scenes, etc. And yeah, in general, like his movies have like a very twisted, like dark vibe to it, but also a little bit silly at the same time. So yeah, the first Terry Gilliam movie that I wanted to talk about is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I mean, this must be basically one of my favorite movies ever. It's about two guys in 1971, I think, a journalist and his attorney basically, but they're both like basically just like drug fiends. Yeah, so the main character, Duke Raoul, he is called to do a piece in Las Vegas on some sort of race there. And basically he and his attorney decide to go there with his suitcase full of drugs and just have a great fucking weekend in Las Vegas. Maybe write some stories about the race or whatever, but like mainly the movie's about them totally tripping out on like all bunch of shit like acid, mescaline, ether, a bunch of fun substances, and yeah, they basically just make their way through Las Vegas, terrorizing all the people around them. And again, like the Terry Gilliam aspect of this movie is just, there's so many lines in this movie that are just so fucking quotable. Like when he's sitting on the bed and he says like,
maybe you could just shove me into the pool.
And the attorney says like,
And if I put you in the pool right now, you'll sink like a goddamn stone. You took too much, man. You took too much, too much.
That line, "you took too much, man, you took too much," we would say all the time to each other when someone snorted a way too big line of ketamine or whatever, was saying like, "Man, I'm just feeling it too much," and we would be saying like, "You took too much, man, you took too much." So extremely fucking quotable movie, and just generally a really fun watch. It is, however, sometimes a little bit hard to understand them, but if you then rewatch the movie a few times, you really start like, you can really see what Terry Gilliam wanted to convey with the movie. Kind of like this like tail end of like the 60s love generation and like the hippies and everything, which is also very much a theme in a lot of these movies, I must say. It's very interesting. I think I'm also going to do a list of all the drugs that are in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in the movie. So yeah, watch out for that also. Okay, so the next Terry Gilliam movie is Brazil, and I think this is one of his first like full movies that he made himself. It's basically a sci-fi movie, but it kind of like plays in future Britain. It was released in 1985, so I guess it plays in like around 1990 or something, 1995 in Britain. And basically the whole society has been bureaucratized extremely heavily. Like basically everything is about paperwork. Even if you're getting arrested from like a whole SWAT team, your spouse has to fill out some paperwork and get some receipt before they can take you away. And like the biggest department, they got all these different kinds of departments, like Department of Records, Department of whatever, and the Department of Information Retrieval is basically where the whole movie is about. Basically they take people that they think have done some kind of crime, and then they interrogate them brutally and like torture them until they confess. And then they charge the people for their own torture, because yeah, I mean, it costs a lot of money. They say in the movie it takes 7% of the total gross national product for that only the Department of Information Retrieval. And so our main character works in Department of Records, and then has like a dream about this girl basically, and then at some day he's like in the main lobby of the department and he sees that girl, and he's like, wait a minute, that's the girl that I've been dreaming about, and like in my dreams I love her. So he's really like the whole movie trying to find her. Basically what happens is he takes a promotion to the Department of Information Retrieval to get information on her and find her. But throughout his journey he gets more and more and more frustrated with like the bureaucracy, everything that's like extremely well like lined out. He can't do anything without asking anyone or doing any kind of form. And throughout the movie he makes all these like small mistakes or small crimes basically. And big spoiler alert right now, skip this if you don't want to know what the movie's gonna be, but in the end he does get captured and tortured, and basically all of his crimes are like displayed, and that's the end of the movie. He's tortured too until he goes crazy. It's such a fucking great movie though. It's like really like almost as if you've taken a delirium and you're now like walking through the most bureaucratic system ever. Much fun, a lot of fun. It's really cool. So yeah, the next Terry Gilliam movie that I wanted to talk about is 12 Monkeys. And 12 Monkeys, also a sci-fi movie. I think this was the next movie Terry Gilliam made after Brazil. But anyways, 12 Monkeys is basically about how in 1997 there was like a virus that broke out on Earth. It's really funny that like the parallel with coronavirus. But yeah, a virus broke out. It killed almost all 5 billion people. Basically, only a few millions of people were left and they went into hiding underground. That's where we start our story with like inside of that underground prison. Basically, our main character is imprisoned. Then he gets like called by some scientists to volunteer, in brackets, volunteer because it's not voluntary. He's sent back back to the past, just like other volunteers, to get information on the virus and hopefully bring back enough information for the scientists to make a cure for the virus. The scientist, and also he himself, acknowledges multiple times in the movie that the past cannot be changed and everything that has happened has already happened. The only thing that they can do is get the information back to the future so they can make the cure. So the whole movie is not about like trying to go back in the future to prevent the virus or anything like that, because they acknowledge it can be done. Like if time travel would be real, it would be consistent like in this movie. So like let's say he goes back to 1990, then the first moment 1990 arrives, like he's already there. Because in the future he's going back. So everything happens on one timeline. There's no branching, there's no changing the future. And the movie is very much has this like steampunk aesthetic to it, especially in the future. It has, or like steampunk, but also a little bit more analog technology that you can also see in Brazil a lot. Like Terry Gilliam loves analog technology and like really quirky technological things. So that's like also in this movie very prevalent. And basically he gets sent back to the past, but it's like the wrong year. And then he finds this woman inside of the psychiatry home that he's in, inside the loony bin. What he does is he and her, he's kind of like roping her into this whole thing by like conspiring with her a little bit. And then she also finds out that the virus is real and that he's really sent back from the future basically. And then they try to get the information, but it turns out that kind of the people that they were chasing, that they thought that they released the virus, were not really the people that released the virus. So it's like a whole chase, and he gets sent like back multiple times. It's really interesting, especially if you love time travel. It's extremely consistent when it comes to time travel. So there's no like in Back to the Future, like his picture just fades out. In real time travel, that could never be possible, obviously. That's some dumbass shit. So this is really nice for time travel lovers, sci-fi lovers. Brad Pitt actually plays one of the main characters. Bruce Willis is one of the main characters. So, and I love me some Bruce Willis. Brad Pitt, I think this is one of his best roles ever. So I would definitely recommend these movies to you. Okay, so the next few movies I'm going to talk about are all Tarantino movies, because I love Tarantino, and I think almost anybody who loves drugs loves Tarantino. There's just something about his movies. It is rawness. It's almost grossness to a point. Like, I don't know, he has so many like very violent scenes, but it's all very much granted. Like, it feels like all the violence in his movies is very much like on point with the story. So yeah, the first, I mean, you can never go wrong with Pulp Fiction. That's like one of my favorite movies next to Fear and Loathing. If you don't know what Pulp Fiction is about, it's basically 3 storylines. One of like 2 gangsters doing an assassination, one of like a boxer that has to throw a fight but doesn't. And then the last one is one of those gangsters like going out with the mobster's wife. And those 3 movies are basically all like mushed, pulped together. So all the different scenes are like mixed in each other. So you don't really know like at the beginning of the movie when you watch it like what happens when and in what order, but it's really fun. It's very aesthetic, like 90s Los Angeles, a lot of drug use, so a lot of cocaine, heroin being used, a lot of references to weed. Yeah, it's just like a very fun movie. One of my favorite scenes is like the going out scenes with Mia in the restaurant, where they just like sit in this fucking quirky ass restaurant and just like have the most awkward conversation ever. It's just like, and I mean, Tarantino also has like the best fucking music choice ever. Like, if I'm going to watch a movie on DXM or whatever and it has good music, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas also has like excellent fucking music choice. So guys, I think this video is becoming a little bit long. There's so many movies I want to talk about and I want to recommend, but yeah, for now I'm just gonna leave it at this. The other Tarantino movies we're going to do in part 2 with some other movies. So yeah, let's stay tuned for part 2 of this. And yeah, hopefully you liked it. I definitely recommend you watch these movies. Hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.